EDU-ARCTIC 2, Polar Research for Education, innovative program in Poland and Norway. Webinars.
So today, this lecture will be related to the North American Arctic, and we will see why this North American Arctic part is very important for a global scale problems and about the flora and fauna there, climatic conditions, and the oceanography of this area. I planned this lecture in such a way that there won't be any specific or any very narrow thoughts about this particular region, but a broad spectrum of the things which shape the climate, oceanography, and culture of this region. So this will be a very introductory talk for the kids. So first of all, what is the North American Arctic, and which part of world is known as North American Arctic? So it includes North Canada, north portion of Alaska, and Greenland, all the parts which are at the north of Arctic Circle. Arctic Circle is basically it's an imaginary circle uh, with with longitude of 66 degree 33 minutes and 48 seconds. All the parts which are north of this are known as north like Arctic part, and the part of Arctic which encompasses inside the American continent is known as North American Arctic. It's why this part is important is it's home to various species of plants and animals. Climate in this region is as we can expect. It's long and cold winters and very short but still cool summers. And Arctic Ocean is largely surrounded by land, and therefore the climate of the Arctic region is basically governed by the oceanic circulation, which is happening inside the Arctic Ocean. The average annual temperature in this region is around minus 0.7 degrees Celsius or 30.8 degrees Celsius. Then we will go for why it is important to understand Arctic or Antarctic, any of the polar region. First of all, it is an incredible landscape which stores vast amount of our planet's fresh water as ice. If we see in our water cycle, a major part of the fresh water is stored as ice, and North Pole and South Pole are the main contenders who store this fresh water. It plays vital role in regulating the world's climate. How we will see very shortly how the climatic condition of the whole globe is kind of regulated by this North Pole and South Pole regions. Melting of the ice means even more heat is absorbed by the ocean. We know that due to global warming, oceans are getting the ice is getting melted, and due to which the ocean level is increasing, as well as we increase the amount of water inside the ocean, more heat will be absorbed, which was radiated by the sun, which is causing more melting, and this whole thing is going to affect oceanic currents, which in direct effect going to affect the atmospheric circulation. So, and all this is going to affect the animals, the people which are living around the globe. But when we talk about the northern pole, there are some iconic animals such as polar bears or penguins in Antarctic, Arctic fox, and all. So due to this reason, this iconic animals, it's part of it's an important part of the global circulation, and therefore it is important to understand polar region, work on the problem which are faced by polar region. So first, let's see the geography of the Alaska. So in brief, if you see, there are three divisions of Alaska geographically made. First is the southernmost Brooks Range. Brooks Range is a rugged east trending linear mountain range, which is characterized by ridges and hills, and which sometimes rises greater than 3,000 meters, and its elevation and relief decrease as we move westward. Then there are Arctic foothills, which are a series of hills and mesas which are not as high as Brooks Range, but it is northward and has a height of 500 meter to 300 meter. Then as we move northward, we enter into Arctic coastal plains, which is a marshy coastal plain, and low, not trending hills are situated along this coast. So overall, if we see in this area, as we move from south to north, the trend of the slope is like the elevation decrease as we move from southern south to north. Then why geologically Canada or the North Arctic is important? In Canada, there is a Akasa gneiss outcrop. This is the oldest rock dated till now, and whose age is 4.3 billion, 4.03, sorry, 4.03 billion years old. This is the oldest rock which are dated. There are zircon grains which are dated, but these are not the original rock grains, but deposited grains. So Akasta is very important for geologists, for global community of geologists to understand the early Earth. Then we move for an oceanography of the Arctic Ocean. In Arctic Ocean, there are five major oceans in world, which are Indian, Atlantic, Antarctic, Pacific, and Arctic. The Arctic is the smallest one among all other major oceans, but still it is very important because it is covered by ice, and it is on the North Pole, which is important for the global conveyor belt. Global conveyor belt is a movement of water around the global ocean. In dimension, it is 4,000 kilometer long and 2,400 kilometer wide, with total area of 5.4 million square miles. Why it is important in global oceanic circulation? It is because the Arctic Ocean is a pathway between a Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. It gets input from the Atlantic Ocean, it gets water from the Atlantic Ocean, and then modifies it in case of temperature and salinity, and it turns back to Atlantic Ocean. So if this circulation disturb, the whole global circulation is going to disturb, and which will cause very bad consequences on our climate and our ocean circulation. These are the five main oceans. Arctic is situated on North Pole here. Now let's see a small video of how oceanic current works, and then we will see why it is important to understand the North Arctic Ocean. Uh, can you hear the voice, like audio from the? Okay, I don't know why it is happening. Here.
Now, can you hear it?
A cargo ship These currents help redistribute warmth around the globe. Unlike surface currents, deep ocean currents are driven primarily by changes in the density of seawater. As water moves towards the North Pole, it gets colder. It also has a higher concentration of salt because the ice crystals that form trap water while leaving salt behind. Salty water is dense, so it sinks, and warmer surface water takes its place, setting up a vertical current called thermal circulation. Thermal circulation of deep water and surface currents combine to form a winding global. As water moves from the depths of the ocean to the surface, it carries nutrients that nourish the microorganisms which form the base of many ocean chains. Is the longest current in the sea, but it moves a few centimeters per second. It would take a drop of water 1,000 years to make the full. Sea temperatures are causing the conveyor to seemingly slow down. Models show this causing havoc with systems on both sides of the island, and no one knows what would happen if it continues to slow or if it stopped altogether. The only way to be able to forecast correctly to continue to study currents and the powerful forces that shape them. Creatures that adapted and survived in this. Take a closer look at some fascinating ocean levels like eastern oceans.
So, as we see in this video, that the thermohaline currents are basically driven by the difference in a salinity and the temperature. So, in a North Pole, if in a North Pole, if the if there is not much ice left, and there is more water is present, which means more absorption of the heat, which cause the difference between the water coming from the equator and the North Pole, the temperature difference will reduce, and that reduced temperature difference will cause a havoc because the global conveyor belt speed is going to slow down, and this will cause a slow gyre movement, and that will be a big problem for global conveyor belt and for the climate of the whole globe. So why the Arctic matters for global warming? We have four main points in this case. First, as I said, that Arctic helps to regulate the world's temperature. So more Arctic ice melts, the warmer our world will become. Second, it is a feedback system in Arctic that melting ice speeds up the climate change. What happened in this case, when there is a ice sheet on the North Pole or in the Arctic region, most of the rays which are coming from a sun are bounced back and reflected. Therefore, the temperature will be less. But if there is more water present on a North Pole, then most of the rays which are coming from the suns are absorbed, causing a more temperature, and that increased heat will cause more melting of the ice sheet, and that again cause more absorption. So this is a feedback system, and that will cause a world temperature to rise like anything. Then another thing is sea level are rising. As the North Pole is going to get melted, more and more ice is going to get melted, sea level is going to rise, and according to the experts, by 2100, most of the major coastal cities like Mumbai or Tokyo, or some islands like Hawaii or Japanese islands, they are going to submerge below the sea. These are the threats which are there if more and more global warming is going to be, and there will be more and more melting of the ice in the northern pole. Also, many oil companies are looking for oil in the Arctic region, as north ice is going to get melted, more region is going to open for exploration. But at the same time, we should think about it. If we start to exploit in a northern pole, then there will be more global warming in this area. More greenhouse gases are going to get expelled from the plant and while drilling and all, which will cause a more disastrous effect in the northern pole. Therefore, it is important that Arctic region should get protected. It should be preserved as it is, and we should look for the measures so that the ice will not melt, and we will we will be in a steady state of global circulation in this case. In case of climate, weather and climate in the Arctic region is it varies greatly annually. The entire region experiences long and cold winters while summers are short. The longer winters are a result of little or no sunlight reaching the region during the winter. Uh, as I said previously, that this region, North American Arctic, is mainly affected by the Arctic Ocean and how the currents flow in the Arctic Ocean, because cold winds which blown from the ocean cools this region, and snow remain throughout the winter due to the long freezing winters in this region. Let's see what's a jet stream. Jet stream is a very important phenomena which regulate the climate in this region, and winds blown in the jet stream are very important for Europe also. So let's see what's a jet stream and how it works. So even in this video, if we see that there is a mixing of the North Pole cold front and a equator hot front. So when there is a global warming, or if there is an increased temperature in the northern pole, this mixing is going to get disturbed, and due to which jet stream is going to disturb. And as in video said, that sometime it may happen that the weather condition will concentrate in one area and there will be a flood in that area if the rainy season or rainy weather concentrated this area. So therefore, it is important, even in case of in a climate and in a stream understanding of the stream movement, that we should first understand how the northern pole affect whole this system of movement. Arctic amplification is very important phenomena in this region. There are three basic mechanisms which affect the Arctic region. One of this is by albedo effect. So if you see in this B and C diagrams, if the northern pole is completely covered by ice sheet, the albedo effect will be there, and sun rays will be bounced back from the ice sheet, and there will be very less absorption, which cause cooling of the atmosphere. The rays above the temperature of the air above this ice will be very cold, very cool. But if there is more exposed area of ocean, of water, of course, because there is a melting of the ice and there will be more water which is present around, more and more sun rays will be absorbed inside the water, which cause an increased temperature in this region. And as the temperature increase in this region, there won't be any difference between the temperature of the wind which is blowing from the equator, from equator towards the pole, and from pole to towards the equator, and which cause not which cause there won't be any mixing between this due to the less temperature difference, and that will disturb the global wind circulation. In case of article amplification, its definition is the enhancement of near surface area temperature change over the Arctic relative to the lower latitude, and it's a prominent feature of climatic change with the important impacts on human and natural system. As we say that, as we see in the previous video, that the global wind system is based on the temperature difference between this Arctic, or we can say polar and the equator region. If the temperature difference between them is going to be less and less, the wind system is going to change, and this will change whole of the global system. And why we call it Arctic amplification? Graph by NOAA shows that this is the global predicted change in a temperature, or we can say increase in a temperature. But from 1990, when the actual industrial revolution hits the world, we can see that Arctic temperature is increasing very fastly as compared to the global. What is the reason behind this? The reason is obviously the three feedback mechanism, one of which is albedo, second is the melting of a permafrost, and the third one is increase in the temperature. And these three effects are making Arctic region more vulnerable to the global warming, and therefore we see that temperature increase in the Arctic region is more prominent than the global trend. Now, as we compare between the Arctic and Antarctic, basic difference between Arctic and Antarctic is Arctic is situated on North Pole, Antarctic on a southern pole. The Arctic is an ocean covered by a thin layer of perennial sea ice and surrounded by the land, while Antarctica is actually a continent covered by very thick ice cap and surrounded by a rim of a sea ice. And Southern Ocean. Arctic Ocean is very deep and closely linked with the climatic system, while as a continent, Antarctica is less linked to the climatic system than the Arctic. There are many indigenous people who lived around the Arctic. There are not many actually. This is a problem. There are not many indigenous people who lives in the Antarctic area. The Arctic has many large land animals, including reindeers, musks, auks, Arctic hares, and Arctic fox. But the largest land animal in the Antarctica is the insects. There are, however, a great many animals that feed in the sea through come onto land for a part or most of their life, like a penguin. But if we see for proper settlement of the animals, Arctic is more richer than the Antarctic. As we see in this case, that Arctic is more connected to the global conveyor belt and to the climatic system. Therefore, we should focus more on Arctic when we think about understanding the global warming or the global problems which we are facing due to the climatic changes. So what type of vegetations are present in Arctic area? An ice desert surrounded the North Pole. It's a land covered with ice and snow, basically. Only organism which was found in such places is cyanobacteria. The first trace of vegetation appear further south where the tundra is located. And as we move to more southern area, the tundra turns into boreal forest known as taiga. So on the extreme North Pole, there is no proper vegetation. But as we move southward, we will get first tundra and then we get the taiga. So what is a tundra? Is a type of biome where the tree growth is hindered by a low temperature and short growing season. The term tundra comes through Russian, which means uplands, treeless mountain tracts, which is near to the northern pole. Tundra vegetation is composed of basically dwarf shrubs, sedge, grasses, mosses, and lichens. Because in this area there is not much sun rays are present, therefore the shrubs are very dwarf, and mostly there is no rich vegetation with the big leaves or something. But as we move southward, the taiga is a forest of cold subarctic region. The subarctic is an area of the northern hemisphere that lies just south of the Arctic Circle, and the soil beneath the taiga often contain permafrost, a layer permanently frozen soil. Taiga are the thick forest, coniferous trees such as spruce, pines, and fir are common, and these are needles instead of broad leaves. Why they have a needles? If we have a broad leaves, it is high possibility that the moisture will be evaporate out. So and if we have a needles, the moisture will be trapped inside the plants, and they can sustain for a more longer time, and therefore this regions basically have vegetation such that they have more of the needles than the broad leaves. What animals we can find? We can see Arctic fox, polar bears, Arctic hare, and musk ox. We will say about polar bears. They are the iconic article animals. They are mammals, and they are surprisingly good swimmers who use their front paws to paddle. Their specialities, they make the front paws to swim, while the back paws are steady, and they swim throughout they can swim in a ocean. Arctic fox are the fleet-footed puppies, basically. Is easier during the summer months when their normally snow white fur turns a dusty gray. So we can easily find during this period this Arctic fox. They often live in a complex network of burrows housing multiple generations and have remarkable hearing, which enable them to detect and catch prey scurrying about under the snow. So they have really sensible ears, so they can even hear their food inside the snow, and then they dug. We will see a short video after this. And Arctic musk ox is basically native to the far north of the Greenland and found in treeless tundras. Uh, Almost wiped out in many places due to overhunting, but are now found across the Arctic. They move about seasonally to get the best food and have an inner and outer fur coat to endure the harsh condition in the winter. And musk ox is very important in the culture because they are used for the clothing basically. We'll see a small video in how hard life can be in Arctic for even the animals. So this is a small video about how Arctic fox survives. Okay, so this video gives you an idea about how tough it is, the life of animals there to get the prey and to survive in the cold winters. This was one of the example how Arctic fox use all the is sensitive ears to catch the sound of the prey and then just catch by digging inside the snow. It's not easy to always get the prey in this case. Then we will move to the culture and people of this area. Arctic North America is a vast area of harsh condition to live. Thus, the population density in the region is low. There are very scarce and very high, like sparse population present in this area. The fastest north of the North America is inhabited by many various groups. The main of this are Inuit, Yupik, Aleut, and Indian people. Inuit and Yupik lives mostly on the coast and near the coast. Aleut on the northern Pacific Islands and Indian, considered as a subarctic people, are tied to subarctic forest. We will mostly look into Inuit as they are more populous in this area in the Northern American Arctic. So if you see, these are a group of culturally similar indigenous people inhabiting the Arctic region of Greenland, Canada, and Alaska. They are traditionally been fishers and hunters, and their traditional clothing and footwear is made from animal skins, sewn together using the needles made from animal bones and thread made from the other animal products. During the winter, certain Inuit lived in a temporary shelter made from snow called as igloo, and when temperature were above freezing, they lived in a tent known as tupik. Also, for the seal hunting or for local transportation, they use kayaks. With the to hunting, they use armed with a harpoon, their special weapon to kill the seals. Mostly these people eat lots of fat and lots of protein as a demand of this region. They have to make their body very hot, so they eat lots of animals in this area. And if you see from their whole habitual functioning, we can see that they're mostly based, they utilize all the natural resources which are present around them, mostly the animal products like animal skins, animal bones, and from them they use their from that they survive through all this winter season, this cold winter season. So this is the last slide in this whole in the whole lecture. From all of this, we can see that this, if we see from the prospect of these people, these animals are very important. Animals, from the animals perspective, the whole climate and the oceanography is important. So all this biosphere, this atmosphere, this oceanosphere, hydrosphere, all are connected to each other. Even if we disturb one of the factor in this cycle, everything is going to get disturbed. And if we see today, due to the global warming and due to the melting of the northern pole ice, whole system like oceanic and climatic system is getting more and more disturbed, and it is getting worse and worse for the animals and for the people around this area. So my last slide is dedicated to all the young generation students. Unfortunately, we don't have any today, but it was for them that Franklin Roosevelt said that we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. And this whole EDU-ARCTIC program is a part of this preparation to build a youth for the future, and by introducing the young generation to the North Pole and to the various problems faced by the global level by this change in climate, we would like to introduce to them these problems, and we would like to ask the young generation to come forward and work on these problems together. Thank you.
Watch other recordings from webinars on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EDU-ARCTIC. EDU-ARCTIC 2, from polar research to scientific passion, innovative nature education in Poland and Norway receives a grant of 240,000 euros received from Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway under EEA funds.